Oh, hi everybody. Today I wanted to talk about jobs and careers, about, for example, what it's really like to be an insurance agent, which um, I may have to do that again. I actually have done that on and off since 1991, but um, I understand insurance. I mean, I've worked years ago as a prudential agent, then I was independent, and then I worked on and off in it, and then even worked for a call center and other agents. So mainly property casualty, but a lot with life and commercial insurance too. And um, so if you have questions about all that, let me know. I was actually talking to somebody today about getting more serious back into the insurance property casualty side so that I could get maybe something going with that. I'm already um, started making some cold calls to businesses about employee benefits. But anyway, if you really want somebody to explain insurance to you, the homeowner's policy, the life policy, there's so many different kinds, and there's different kinds of homeowners, and then there's a dwelling fire policy, which is like a policy for rental coverages, and then you have your umbrella over all of it, and then your auto policy, and then the commercial policies. But if you really want to know a lot about all that, um, let me know. And of course, since 2003, I've made some money as an actress, but not a lot. But I mean, I'm still working on it, and I enjoy that. It's very challenging, but the two careers are very similar. I mean, in many ways. I mean, you can debate, of course. Acting is definitely more creative, but that's there's a lot of technical sides to the acting process too. Also, especially if it's for film and TV work, um, as opposed to theater, which I've done theater, which is a lot of fun too. But that has its moments too of challenges. But because both fields are like you only make money if you book the um, the gig, and you have to go through all these hoops through, with acting either on your own, submitting your clips, doing the audition, or just submitting your old clips, your previous clips, and your headshots and resume out to agents and casting directors and see if you can get an agent to submit you also, and then to do your self-taping for the casting offices, and you might be competing with sometimes up to 1,000 people for a small role, even to be called in, and then of those submissions, maybe up to 1,000 or more submissions, they may actually decide to see anywhere from 50 to 100 actors to have them, go ahead and send in their audition tape based on the script or the sides. They call them sides. Usually they're small, but anyway, it's so similar to selling insurance because most jobs in insurance are on strictly commission, although some are salary plus commission, but it depends. But a lot of them are strictly commission, and you only make money if you if you sell the policy and close the deal. So you may have to see a lot of different people. Nowadays, at least you could go over Zoom with it. Um, just like when I'm selling or learning to sell the Aliabo and the Hot Mom products. I haven't sold a lot of those yet, but I'm learning. There's different techniques, and of course with that, it's more like learning branding and selling the products and just selling a lot on the internet. But I think at the end of the day, people still want that special contact they would have with another person. And sometimes we're losing a lot of that with the internet. back in the olden days, for example, with insurance, you would call on someone. You would have to make a lot of calls. Well, you have to do that nowadays too, just to see somebody, and then you would go to their home or office and explain, the different quotes and the policy and the coverages, and see if something was doable for them. And we were kept to tell them, it's better to think about it covered than not covered or whatever. But which is true, because too late, if you wait too late, you have to have the coverage. But anyway, it's just the way you make a living at that is similar, as far as you have to do a lot of work to get a chance to see the customer, because you're competing with a lot of other agents, just like actors are competing with a lot of other actors. And a lot of your time is spent prospecting in insurance, but also in acting. As far as, you're constantly, trying to get your own auditions through the acting sites, like Actors Access, and there's a number of other ones, Casting Networks and Backstage West. You have to kind of juggle. Maybe you can't afford all of them at the same time or whatever, or maybe you can, or maybe you are at a level where your agent just submit you for whatever, and you don't worry about even submitting yourself. I still submit myself for like lower budget films and such. But and there's a lot of controversy now, because some agents are considering FICOR, because there's a lot more non-union projects than there are union projects. Anyway, just keep on the subject. Of all my jobs and careers, as far as similarities in selling insurance, is similar in many ways, at least how you make a living, to acting, because you have to deal with a lot of rejection when you're selling insurance, and also with acting. And once you do get a chance to audition for acting, or a sales appointment, whether it's in an office, to go see people at their business or their home, or their home office, or or talk to them, or meet them out somewhere at a coffee place, Starbucks or whatever. You can explain all the coverages. You can do a lot over the phone. And I used to use a fax machine a lot. In fact, I still have a fax, but a lot of people don't use that anymore. They do the PDF files, like after they get the quotes. But nowadays, one tough thing with insurance is they want you to get a lot more personal information from the prospect before you even know if you can close it or not. In other words, it used to be easier to get people to let you quote their insurance. I even talked to another agent about this the other day on the phone. He mainly sells just life insurance. But you used to be able to get quotes for people, and I guess you still could, but it's not as easy. But with just minimal information, like the age, or depending on like the driving record, you don't have to get all of it at once, or just talk to them and ask them questions if they've had any claims in the last 3 years, or basically on of course life insurance, the age and everything, but if they smoke or not, if they have any serious health issues, where they have to take medication or whatever. But those are basic things that you got once they agreed to write the policy, for example. They let you write the policy. You would go write the policy, whether it was an auto policy, a homeowner's policy, a life policy, or whatever it was, or even like an annuity or something that you wanted to set up for them. But in order to get the quotes, you didn't have to get all the personal information right off the bat. Just like enough basic stuff just to get a ballpark quote, and then talk to them whether or not they were interested or not. Well, nowadays they want you to get so much personal information. I think it really deters the sales process. And when you're out there on a strictly commission, it just makes it a lot more difficult. And of course, unfortunately, AI and different things have replaced insurance agents. People go direct to the companies like call center jobs or whatever, which I had one of those a few years ago. But in other words, so many things are sort of replacing an agent in a way, an insurance agent, and then sort of the same thing that's happening with acting, you know. But at the end of the day, people still want, or some people still want, a real person that they know that will give them the inside scoop. So anyway, if you want to know a lot about insurance, or more about insurance, or about your insurance and the choices, I'm happy to tell you. In fact, I might even eventually have a third channel just talking about insurance. But then I thought, well, okay, I've sold insurance on and off since 1991 on several different ways, you know, as a captive agent and then as an independent agent, and then, you know, worked strictly commission for a long time, and then, you know, the call center or for the other agents. There's several different directions you can go with it. But then I thought, well, I could actually have a third channel. This lady gave me the idea today. They didn't have any openings, but I was going to talk to them about maybe if I could run quotes sometimes for them and see, you know, for their policies, like being a sub-agent, you know, and just work under them. Because if I was to go back and be a total independent agent, even if I worked out of this tiny little apartment, I would still have to buy another E&O policy. I would have to get a sub-rater system. I mean, it costs money. You know, it's not like exorbitant. I mean, but for me, you know, I'm sitting here as an actor trying to decide that I guess I definitely want to always keep actors' access, because that's like the number one acting site still for actors. And I can coach you on all that too. So technically I could have different sites. I mean, I have on my Facebook, I have, of course, my regular one, Jean to it, and then I have with Celery Queen Jean. That's like my new theme song, my for everything. And it's not just because I can sell Angela's Hot Mom products, which are great, but I'm still learning a lot of technical things about that, because so much of that nowadays is done or can be done online. Because I had signed up to sell Avon before that, and I hadn't sold any Avon yet. I mean, because a lot of that's just done completely different from the way we used to do things. For example, you know, because I'm older, see, so we used to like run the insurance quotes, you know, call people, try to get an appointment, you know, send them a fax and, you know, go see them and everything. Just like the same way we would set up Mary Kay parties, which I've done that before too. You'd go in person to see the people. And it's the same way with the acting. We used to go, well, I lived in L.A. on and off some, and then occasionally I'd have a really good auditions. Occasionally I even flew in for a couple better auditions. But that was tough too, because I didn't have enough coffee. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I went straight from the airport to the audition. But anyway, it was kind of a last minute thing, but it would have been a really big thing if I got it. See, there were 2 times that happened. One was for Lucky Stiff, where I would have gotten a scene with Jason Alexander, and another one for The Changeling, that would have been the police lady with the boy on the train. That was the Clint Eastwood, Angelina Jolie movie. And then the other one was where I would have gotten to play the secretary, one of the 2 secretaries, against Tom Hanks' character. But anyway, but I didn't get that. But anyway, that was the one where I didn't have enough coffee. But the other 2 I probably didn't either. But anyway, but a lot of times I was in LA, and regardless of that, a lot of times you just go in the audition in person, you know. And then later on, you know, years later, it ended up being the self-taping, where we have to do all our own self-taping, with our phone, like I'm using right now, because I did find my tiny little stand I can do that with. But then I need that other part I showed you the other day that broke. I've got to get a new stand to go. It's like a little frame thing that you just hook up to your tripod for your iPad filming. But either way, it can be challenging because you've got to find your reader, and you can read with them over Zoom or put them on speakerphone or whatever you need to do, or have them come in person. I don't know a lot of actors in Waco. I do know one, but she's mainly a writer. I think I've introduced you to her before, Frances. She's on my other channel. It's now Celery Queen Jean to it, Wacky Waco Woman, which eventually I may condense it down to Celery Queen Jean, but then I still kind of like to leave the two IT because people mispronounce my name. My name is Jean Tuitt. So, but anyway, but things have changed a lot, see, and you can do a lot over the phone or online, like with Zoom, The Zoom is probably the best way to know that you're really with a real person, because you can have an actual meeting, that's how I've gone to all these Angela Shelton's meetings, was over Zoom. And then I've done a number of acting classes over Zoom. A lot of them are free. You're like, because in recent years because I had taken a lot of classes in the past, running up charge cards and all that, that's a whole other thing. That's my dog. He's getting over his allergies now. The allergies are a little bit bad here. But they're so humid in this part of Texas. Of course, Austin's is even worse with the humidity. I feel better, though, when I'm down towards the beach, which I haven't been to the Texas coast in a long time. But anyway, let's stay on the subject here. So, I forget that sometimes this is really, I'm just talking to maybe one or two people at a time, or I may be talking to several people, depending on what time people view it. A lot of times people view these videos at different times. But yes, I'm first going to post this one on my channel that I hardly ever post on, because I thought it would fit in with the theme of my acting career and roles, because all these different jobs and careers I've had too sort of affect the way that I can project my roles. But I may make a third channel just talking about maybe being an insurance agent, or I even thought about doing one about being a substitute teacher. That's a whole other thing, because I've done substitute teaching on and off since like the year 2000, or the year 2001. So, once again, a lot of these ways to make money, whether you're strictly commissioned insurance agent or a substitute teacher, you're not going to make a lot. So when you're watching a lot of your friends retire and such, and then you're trying to retire, but you didn't make as much at any of your jobs, even though you've worked